I wasn't even supposed to be home that night. The guys and I had tickets to the Knicks game, box seats, courtesy of my business partner. But last minute, Rob's kid came down with the flu, and plans fell apart. So I came home early, figuring I'd surprise my wife. Instead, I walked into the rest of my life collapsing in real time. The house was dark when I pulled in. I didn't think anything of it. Her car was out front. Porch light was off. I figured maybe she was asleep, or upstairs watching TV with the lights dimmed like she liked. Then I heard the laughter. It was coming from the backyard, our deck. I walked quietly around the side, staying in the shadows. It was her and 3 of her friends, wine glasses in hand, half-empty bottle on the table, cackling like teenagers. I was about to walk up and say hi, but then I heard her voice. Loud, drunk, giddy. He's too stupid to realize I've been cheating for years. Years. And just like that, my blood ran cold. The girls shrieked with laughter. One of them nearly knocked her glass over. Another one slapped the table and said, "Shut up, you were so bad." But she kept going. I swear, I could bring the guy here in our bed and the idiot would probably thank me for the extra pillows. They lost it again. One of them said she had to pee before she peed herself. Another said, "You're going to hell, girl," while grinning ear to ear. And I stood there, frozen, still, silent. I didn't say a damn word. I just turned, walked back around the house, got in my car, and drove. No idea where I was going. Just needed air. But that night, that was the night I died. And someone else got born in my place. The old me? He's buried 6 feet under somewhere, still hoping for a faithful wife and a loving marriage. The new me? He's a man with a plan. And trust me, when she came crying at my door 3 weeks later, she didn't find her husband. She found her reckoning. I didn't sleep that night. Not even a minute. I drove until sunrise, no music, no podcasts, just the sound of my tires chewing pavement and my knuckles creaking on the steering wheel. When I finally pulled back into the driveway, the wine glasses were still on the deck. Empty. Lipstick stains. My wife was asleep inside like nothing happened. I stared at her while she snored. This woman I'd loved for 12 years. The one I paid off student loans with. The one I carried across the threshold. The one who told me she wanted forever. I watched her sleep for 2 minutes, then walked into my office, locked the door, and started researching. If she thought I was too stupid to figure it out, I'd make sure she choked on her own underestimation. By 8 a.m., I had a hidden camera ordered with overnight delivery, a new folder on my desktop labeled Exit Strategy, an appointment with a divorce attorney under a fake name, just for advice, and a reminder, smile. Always smile. Over the next 2 weeks, I did something I never thought I'd be capable of. I faked being the perfect husband. I kissed her forehead when I left for work. I brought her flowers on a random Tuesday. I made her coffee just how she liked it, 2 sugars, 1 cream, a hint of vanilla. I played my role, right down to the apron when I grilled on Sunday. And she bought it. Hook, line, and audacity. She even told me she was proud of how attentive I'd been lately. Said she felt like we were reconnecting. Said she'd been meaning to tell her friends she was going to try cutting off the side piece soon, just to keep things clean. I smiled. But what she didn't know was that my attentiveness included a GPS tracker tucked under her back bumper, a fake business trip scheduled so I could tail her without suspicion. And yes, that discreet, glorious little spy cam hidden in the smoke detector of our bedroom. I told you, I died that night. And the man who replaced me? He wasn't interested in saving a marriage. He was writing the final chapter of her favorite fantasy. And spoiler alert, in this ending, the princess doesn't get the castle. She gets burned at the gate. The first time I saw it happen with my own eyes, I wanted to puke. He was younger than me, maybe mid-30s, clean-shaven, tight-fitted shirt like he was auditioning for a protein powder ad. She brought into our bedroom like she'd done it 100 times. Like it was hers. They didn't even bother pulling the curtains. I sat in a Motel 6 15 minutes away, watching it unfold through a high-def video feed like some sick parody of my own life. Her phone pinged just before he arrived. I watched her check it and smile. Too stupid to realize, I heard her voice say in my head. That sentence never left me. But here's the part one didn't expect. After 10 minutes of fumbling and sweat and everything I never wanted to see, I didn't feel broken. I felt free. Because now, I wasn't guessing. I wasn't living in denial. I wasn't too stupid or too trusting. I was a man with evidence. With leverage. With power. And I planned to wield it like a scalpel. But it was the second video that changed everything. 3 days later. Same guy. Different room. My office. She sat on my desk, giggling. He had his hands all over her. She leaned in and whispered something in his ear that made him smirk like the smug little bastard he was. Then she said it out loud. Once the house is in my name, it's game over. He can cry to a judge, but I'll be long gone with the settlement. I froze the frame. My house. The one I bought. Paid the mortgage on. Renovated. Tiled the bathroom myself. Painted the nursery even though we never had kids. That house. She wanted to steal it from under me. That's when I started laughing. I laughed like a man who'd already seen the ending. Because I had. See, while she was busy planning her escape with my life, I was laying the groundwork to erase her from mine entirely. I changed my direct deposit to a private account. Transferred ownership of my car to a trust. Met with a divorce attorney under my real name this time. And let's just say, she was very interested in what I brought to the meeting. Especially the videos. Especially the one where they discussed faking abuse to expedite the payout. Yeah, she went from cheater to criminal in under 5 minutes. And me? I went from betrayed husband to silent executioner. I told her I had a conference in Miami. Told her I'd be flying out Friday, back Sunday night. Even kissed her cheek in the driveway as I wheeled my suitcase to the car. She waved at me from the porch like some sitcom wife who hadn't been blowing her boy toy in my home office just days earlier. Of course, I never went to Miami. I drove exactly 4.8 miles away and checked into a short-term rental with a direct line of sight to our master bedroom window, my little castle under siege. That night, she had him over again. Same guy. Different cologne. He kissed her in the doorway, and she didn't even glance down the street. It never occurred to her that I might be watching. That's what being underestimated gets you. Advantage. They laughed, drank wine, stumbled upstairs. I didn't watch this time. I didn't need to. Because while they were playing house and mine, I was busy finishing her eviction notice from my life. At exactly 10:02 a.m. the next morning, there was a knock on the door. She opened it wearing my shirt. And standing there, dressed in a navy suit with documents in hand, was a process server, my attorney's favorite. Mrs. Carson, you've been served. She blinked, took the envelope. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. Then she read the first line. Petition for divorce, grounds, adultery, fraud, and malicious intent. The footage, the texts, the GPS logs, the audio files, all referenced in the claim, all ready for court. I watched her stumble back a step, her legs almost giving out under her. She tried to call me. I didn't answer. She tried again. Voicemail. 10 minutes later, I heard my front door slam and watched her storm outside. Phone pressed to her ear, panic in her voice. And I smiled. Because I was just getting started. That day, I filed a temporary injunction to freeze all our joint accounts. That night, I transferred ownership of the house, my house, into a family trust in my name only. And that weekend, I let her panic stew like rot in her mouth. By the time I texted her on Sunday, she'd called me 19 times. Me. Hope you had a nice weekend. By the way, get a lawyer. She replied instantly. What the hell are you doing? Oh, sweetheart. What I should have done the moment you laughed about cheating while drinking Merlot on my patio. She rang the bell like she was afraid I wouldn't answer. Like maybe if she hit it enough times, she could rewind the last week. I didn't rush. I let her stand out there for a minute, maybe two. When I finally opened the door, she looked like a woman unraveling. Hair messy. Sweatshirt on inside out. No makeup except for the mascara streaks under her eyes, like war paint from a battle she was losing. She had one hand wrapped around herself like she was cold, the other clutching her phone like a lifeline. Please, she said, voice cracking. Can we talk? I didn't invite her in. I just stepped aside and pointed to the porch bench. There was a cardboard box sitting on it, taped shut, labeled with her name in Sharpie. That's yours, I said. The rest? Your lawyer can coordinate pickup. She blinked. Wait, what is this? You're not even going to let me explain? I laughed. Not hard, not loud. Just enough for her to hear the death of whatever sympathy I might have had. You already explained, remember? Right there, on the back deck. You were drunk. You were with your friends. You said I was too stupid to know. Her face went pale. You heard that. All of it. She sat down slowly, like her legs had stopped belonging to her. The bravado melted off her like wax. She actually looked small now. It was surreal. I didn't mean it, she whispered. I was just drunk. Angry. I didn't mean for it to go that far. I pulled my phone from my pocket, tapped the screen, and played the audio. He's too stupid to realize I've been cheating for years. Her voice, crystal clear. Laughter in the background. Then her follow-up. I swear, I could bring the guy here in our bed and the idiot would probably thank me for the extra pillows. She covered her mouth. Tears welled up instantly. I watched them fall without blinking. You weren't just angry, I said. You were proud. That's what broke me. She shook her head. I'm so sorry. I was stupid. I didn't mean for this to happen. I love you. There it was. The L word. The one she buried under years of lies and wine-soaked secrets. I leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed. You love me. Yes. Then why were you planning to take my house? My money? My name? She couldn't answer. Let me guess, I said. You were going to leave gracefully once the deed transferred. Split the assets. Start fresh with Mr. Gym membership. That hit a nerve. She flinched. It wasn't like that, she croaked. Then tell me. How was it? She stared at me. I was begging. But the words never came. That's what I thought. I walked back inside, left her with the box and the wreckage of her fantasy. But before I shut the door, I said one last thing. Oh, and you might want to check the bottom. There's a flash drive in there. It's got your greatest hits. For court, of course. Her eyes widened. You recorded everything? Every word. I shut the door in her face. And for the first time in a year, I exhaled. 3 days after she picked up the box, her lawyer called mine. Apparently, the flash drive had sent them into a full-blown meltdown. I sat across from my attorney, watching her grin like a cat who just knocked over a canary cage. They're panicking, she said, flipping through a thick folder of papers. They're begging for mediation. No mediation, I said. Exactly what I thought you'd say. Because, see, mediation would mean compromise. Meeting halfway. Giving her something. And after what she'd done, not just the cheating, not just the humiliation, but the plotting, the scheming, the intent to take me down behind my back, she didn't deserve mercy. She deserved exactly what she'd given me. So we filed for a full fault-based divorce, citing adultery, financial deceit, and premeditated fraud. And not just for division of assets. We petitioned for attorney's fees, court costs, punitive damages. And because my lawyer is a vicious little shark with perfect red nails, she had one more trick up her sleeve. Civil lawsuit for emotional distress. Turns out, when you catch your spouse planning to fake abuse claims to steal your assets, and you have recorded evidence, you're no longer just a betrayed husband. You're a plaintiff. And the kicker? Her boy toy, the muscle brain side piece? Yeah, he worked for a company that had a strict moral clause. One quick anonymous tip, and yes, I made damn sure it was anonymous, about inappropriate conduct and violations of company image policy tied to public court records. Fired. By Friday, he was unemployed. She was scrambling for legal fees, and her family, who up until then had always treated her like a princess, was quietly ghosting her. Turns out, nobody wants to back a liar when receipts are printed in black and white. The nuclear blast had started, and it was beautiful. Over the next few weeks, my world got quieter. She moved out of our house, my house. Had to rent a sad little apartment across town. No furniture, no decorations, just a bed on the floor and dreams made of ash. Meanwhile, I repainted the master bedroom. New floors, new linens, new life. I even adopted a rescue dog. Named him Karma. Because, honestly, that's what was happening. She wasn't just losing a husband. She was losing her narrative. No more poor me stories to spin. No more girls' nights bragging about how stupid I was. No more easy, entitled path paved with my blood and sweat. All gone. All burned. By the time the first court date rolled around, her hands were visibly shaking when she had to sit across from me. I didn't gloat. I didn't smirk. I just stared at her like she was a stranger passing on the street. Because to me, that's all she was now. Somebody I used to know. Somebody who thought laughing at my pain was the peak of her power. But in reality, it was the start of her downfall. When you're planning to go nuclear, timing is everything. You don't just fire all your shots at once. You layer them. Pain, confusion, humiliation, each hitting just as the last wound starts to scab over. And now? Now it was time for the kill shot. It started with a letter. Delivered to her sad little apartment, hand-delivered by a courier wearing a crisp black suit. It wasn't from me. It wasn't from my lawyer. It was from my uncle's law firm. See, what she never knew, what most people didn't know, was that a few months before her drunken confession on the back deck, my great-uncle had passed away. He left behind a sizable inheritance, enough to change someone's life. I hadn't said a word about it. Not to friends. Not to coworkers. Not to her. And because I inherited it after our marriage had already gone up in flames, and because it was designated specifically to me in the will, under the law, it was separate property. She couldn't touch a dime. But she didn't know that yet. The letter was simple. You are formally notified that my name has come into possession of a private inheritance. As per applicable state law, these funds are not considered marital assets and will not be subject to division during your divorce proceedings. This notice is provided out of courtesy only. She received it 2 days before our first major court hearing. And when she walked into the courtroom that morning, she looked like a woman who had finally realized she had lost everything. The house? Gone. The car? Gone. The savings she thought she'd carve in half? Untouchable. The man she thought she could humiliate? Stronger than ever. And the future she'd mocked? It didn't include her. She didn't even look at me as she sat at the defendant's table. Not once. But I watched her. Watched the realization dawn across her features, minute by minute. That she hadn't just lost. She had wasted everything. For a cheap thrill. For a side piece who didn't even stick around after the first round of subpoenas hit. She threw away a life she didn't even understand. And now? She was facing the fallout alone. No backup. No sympathy. No lifeline. Just the cold, hard reality of choices made and bridges burned. The court date went exactly as my attorney predicted. We won everything. The judge ruled in my favor on all counts, fault-based divorce, awarded all court costs to her, denied her any claim to my separate inheritance, and granted me exclusive ownership of the house. She left the courthouse in tears. I left smiling into the sun. I should have known she wouldn't go quietly. People like her never do. The ink was barely dry on the divorce decree when I got the call from my neighbor, of all people. Nice old guy. Retired cop. Name's Terry. Salt of the earth type. Hey, bud, he said. You might want to get over here. Something's going on at your place. I broke every speed limit getting home. When I pulled onto the street, my stomach twisted into a knot. There she was, standing on my front lawn, screaming, throwing things. My things. My lawn was littered with broken pieces of ceramic, shredded clothes, ripped photo frames, everything she could get her hands on that had once meant something to us. And in the middle of it all, she stood barefoot, hair wild, mascara bleeding down her cheeks again like a damn horror movie villain. You ruined my life, she shrieked the second she saw me. She hurled a box at my truck. It bounced harmlessly off the hood. I kept driving, pulling into the driveway without flinching. Terry was standing on his porch, arms crossed, watching everything unfold like it was Sunday night football. Cops are on their way, he called to me. Figured you'd want them to catch this live. God bless that man. I stepped out of the truck, calmly. Didn't say a word. Didn't yell. Didn't even look angry. I just started recording. Phone out. Camera pointed straight at her. She must have realized, maybe it finally clicked that she was making things worse, because she started screaming a different tune. You abused me. You hit me. I have proof. Classic move. Textbook desperation. But it didn't matter. Because remember the hidden cameras? Yeah. Every room. Every conversation. Every moment she could possibly try to spin into a lie? Already documented. Already timestamped. Already backed up. So when the cops arrived, lights flashing, sirens silent, they found her mid-scream, lunging at me like she wanted to scratch my eyes out. And me? Calm as a surgeon, showing them the footage in real time. 5 minutes later, they had her in handcuffs, charged with destruction of private property, disturbing the peace, and filing a false police report once she tried to lie to them about what happened. I stood there, hands in my pockets, watching as they stuffed her into the back of a cruiser. And for the first time since the night, I heard her laughter on that deck. I felt peace. Real, genuine, no strings attached peace. Later, I sat on my now-destroyed front lawn, sipping a beer while the sun went down. The breeze was cool. The neighborhood was quiet. Terry waved at me from his porch and went back to grilling. And I smiled to myself, thinking, you threw everything away for a few cheap lies. Now you have nothing. And I have everything that matters, myself. A month passed. The divorce was finalized. The restraining order was granted. The dust had finally started to settle. I was rebuilding my life. New furniture, new paint, new friends. Even Karma, my rescue dog, had found his rhythm. He had claimed half the couch and spent his days sunbathing on the deck like he owned the place. I really thought the saga was over. But then came the letter. No return address. No stamp. Just a plain white envelope shoved into my mailbox one rainy afternoon. I almost tossed it in the trash without opening it. Something about it felt toxic, heavy, wrong. But curiosity got the better of me. I slid it open with a pocket knife. Inside was a single piece of paper. One handwritten line. You think you won, but you don't even know what you lost. No name. No signature. But I knew the handwriting. I'd seen it on 1,000 sticky notes. Birthday cards. Love letters once tucked inside my lunch bag when we were still happy. It was her. Still trying to claw at me from the wreckage of her own destruction. Still too arrogant to accept the truth. She lost. Not me. I sat on my porch for a long time, letter in hand, rain misting the ground around me. And for a second, a tiny, fleeting second, I almost felt pity. Almost. But then I remembered. The way she laughed about deceiving me. The way she planned to steal everything I'd worked for. The way she tried to frame me when the walls caved in around her. And that pity turned to something colder. Something steel-hard. I burned the letter in the fire pit that night, watching it curl and blacken and float into the night sky. Ashes to ashes. Dust to dust. You'd think that would be the true end of it. But life, as it turns out, still had one more card to play. Because 2 weeks later, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. New York area code. I almost didn't answer. But something told me to. A man's voice on the other end. Calm. Professional. Is this Mr. Carson? Speaking. This is Detective Morales with the NYPD. We have reason to believe you may have been the intended target of an attempted fraud scheme involving falsified insurance claims. Are you available to meet? I sat there, stunned. Fraud? Insurance? What the hell was he talking about? But I knew one thing immediately. This wasn't over. Not by a long shot. I met Detective Morales 2 days later at a small precinct downtown. He wasn't what I expected. No grim face, no endless questions. Just a tired guy in a cheap suit who looked like he needed 3 coffees and a day off. But when he laid out what they'd uncovered, I sat there stunned, feeling the world shift under my feet one last time. Turns out, after our divorce filings became public record, my ex-wife, let's just call her Casey now, hatched one last desperate scheme. She took out a life insurance policy on me, forged my signature, falsified employment documents, even paid a shady notary under the table to validate the paperwork. Her plan? Simple. Wait a few months after the divorce cooled down. Find someone willing to stage a robbery gone wrong. Claim the payout, over $750,000, as the grieving ex-spouse who just happened to be the listed beneficiary. She couldn't steal my house. She couldn't steal my savings. She couldn't even destroy my reputation. So she decided she'd try to steal my life. The only reason the plan unraveled? The lowlife she hired to help file the fraudulent documents got busted on an unrelated weapons charge and ratted her out for a lighter sentence. When detectives started digging, they found a web of emails, burner phones, and bank transfers all leading back to her. She wasn't just a scorned wife anymore. She was a felon, charged with conspiracy to commit insurance fraud, forgery, attempted grand larceny, and solicitation to commit assault. The last one? Because in one of her emails, she explicitly asked the lowlife if he knew someone who could make it look like an accident. When they arrested her, she screamed about how I had driven her to it, how she had lost everything because of me. The detective told me later that she didn't cry, didn't plead, didn't even deny it. She just ranted, screamed until her voice was hoarse, as if rage could rewrite reality. The trial is scheduled for later this year. She's facing up to 25 years if convicted on all charges. Her fancy new apartment? Gone. Her social circle? Gone. Her family? They've washed their hands of her. The side piece? He ghosted her the second the handcuffs came out. And me? I'm alive. I'm free. I'm vindicated. Not because I fought harder, but because the truth has a gravity all its own, and eventually it pulls all liars straight down. I sit on my porch some nights, karma at my feet, beer in hand, staring out at the world I rebuilt from ashes. No anger. No bitterness. Just peace. She laughed about cheating. I smiled while she destroyed herself. In the end, the real revenge wasn't my doing. It was just life. And life doesn't miss.